best music.
Jeremy Vine.
And latest news.
BBC
Jeremy Vine.
Radio 2.
Well, on their website, the owners of the cruise ship, the Costa Concordia, promise their passengers a vacation they'll never forget on a floating temple of fun. It is safe to say the 4,000 or so men, women and children who took the Concordia's last voyage will not be forgetting their holiday in a hurry. On Friday night, the monster of a boat capsized off the coast of western Italy after hitting rocks. The captain claims they were uncharted. His bosses claim he sailed too close to the land, maybe because he was showing off. Either way, the collision caused the boat to list, sparking what appears to have been a chaotic evacuation. Recordings made by passengers give you just a flavour of the panic that ensued.
Due to an electrical fault which is currently under control, we're currently in a blackout. Our technicians are working to resolve the situation.
Well, at least 6 people have died and 15 remain unaccounted for. The accident has led some to question just how safe these super cruise liners are. The Costa Concordia was 31 metres high, 290 metres long, with 5 on-board restaurants, 13 bars, 4 swimming pools and a casino. They are effectively small towns at sea, these things. Some have questioned how you can ever safely evacuate thousands of people from a ship so large and intricately configured. However, others have urged caution. They point out that incidents like this remain very rare and that even in this case, the vast majority of passengers escaped unharmed. Let us talk first to Stephen Mosley, Conservative MP for the City of Chester. And you regularly holiday on cruise ships, Stephen.
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Yes, I'm a huge fan, like 1.7 million people last year. Me and my family went cruising last year, and it is an absolutely fantastic holiday. But I don't think that people realise that once you're on board ship, if something goes wrong, quite often you are on your own.
On your own in the sense that the ship's captain will get off the ship and abandon you?
Well, that's what people are saying this time. But also, if you're out at sea, you're outside countries' jurisdictions. It means that if you're a victim of a crime, if something goes wrong, you might not have the police, you might not have the authorities there to actually protect you.
I see. So when you go on holiday on these cruise ships, what do you take pleasure from? Is it that the sheer fact of the facilities are so huge, so intricate, so widespread, you can just have fun all week long?
It's a fantastic holiday, and there's something there for everybody. We've got 2 young children, and the children have a whale of a time. And of course, if the children are having a good time, their parents do as well. And my wife and I can go out, have a holiday, go out for a meal, in hopefully the safe knowledge that the children are safe.
But you have talked about the personal safety of passengers on these ships already, Stephen, haven't you? Not so much a risk of them sinking, but falling off the edge.
Yes, I had a very sad situation with a constituent, Rebecca Corium, who disappeared from a cruise ship off Mexico in March. And when you start looking into these things, you discover that if that happens, there is no one actually taking responsibility, no one who's looking after these passengers, and no one making sure that they find out what went wrong.
So it could be 50 miles later somebody says, "Where's the nice lady from cabin B?"
Exactly.
Really? And at that point she's gone forever?
Absolutely. Once you're overboard, and the worst thing is that because it's out at sea, for many cruise companies, frequently they're flying on flags that are countries like Panama or Liberia or the Bahamas, and those countries don't have the resources to actually investigate the situation and find out what happened, and if a crime was committed, make sure it's prosecuted.
What about the sheer size of these ships? The biggest, I think, has room for 6,000 passengers.
These ships are absolutely huge. The Costa Concordia, which we saw go down on Friday night, had 4,200 passengers and crew on board. So they are mini cities, and there's everything you would expect on those ships. But you can imagine, with so many people crowded together, if something goes wrong, it is going to be difficult getting all those people off the ship.
Do you think we haven't learnt the lessons of the Titanic, and we've now reached a point where, again, we've got these enormous floating cities, and when there is a disaster, it is going to be absolutely terrible?
As I think we've seen this weekend, these things are terrible, and it's actually remarkable that we have only seen 6 casualties with 4,200 people on board, and you look at some of the mistakes that seem to be made, I think it's actually absolutely remarkable that there have been so few casualties.
Well, it happened in shallow water near land, didn't it? But if it had happened out in the ocean, it might have been a completely different story.
But it probably wouldn't have hit a rock out in the middle of the ocean, of course. But
well, the Titanic hit an iceberg and 1,500 people died.
Absolutely. And I think if you're looking at the news headlines, it looks like the ship's captain didn't actually follow the proper procedures even after the ship hit the rock. You heard on the news item before I came on that they were telling people it was an electrical fault. And the problem is, if you're a passenger on these ships, your life jackets are in your cabin, which might be several floors down. So if the ship's listing, your cabin might be underwater. And we're hearing stories from this weekend that there weren't enough life jackets, that because the ship was listing, they could only use half of the lifeboats. If they'd have had, as soon as they hit the rock, they'd let the passengers know, sound the emergency signal, get people to muster stations, get people to get the life jackets on, we might not have had as much chaos as we saw.
It's incredibly basic, isn't it, that if a ship starts leaning, all the lifeboats on the higher side are out of action.
Absolutely, which is why it needs instant action. And I've seen one report that it took almost an hour for the ship's captain to notify the Italian Coast Guard after they hit the rock. That hour could have given enough people enough time to get their life jackets, could have given people enough time to get their families together, because of course it's an evening, parents would have been dining, the children would have been in the children's club, and you've got to make sure that all these people are together and can look after themselves.
The captain's being accused of having deserted the ship early, and we don't know the facts, but should the captain stay on and be the very last to leave, or is it better if he gets or she gets out fast and then somehow helps the rescue effort from outside the ship?
I do think you need some sort of leadership on board the ship. You need someone who knows the ship on board, who can install calm and make sure that everybody does get off. It seems from hearing passengers that it was very chaotic, it was very difficult, people didn't know what to do, and whereas most people did get off, it could have been much, much worse.
Thank you very much, Steve, for joining us. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Mosley, Conservative MP for the City of Chester. Let's talk to Tom McSweeney, who's a marine correspondent. Tom,